Welcome back to the Critics Corner. I'm Andrew Branca with the Waxahachie Sun, and I'm here with my friend, colleague, and fellow movie aficionado, Mr. David Dunn with Southlake Style Magazine. What's going on, my friend?
Nothing much, man. I'm ready for the freaking weekend as per usual. How about you?
Oh, man, I can't wait. It's been a long week. I'm just ready to kick back, throw my shoes off, and just be done with this week.
Same. Shoot. I mean, I've already beat you to it.
Man, you got some nasty looking socks there, dude.
Shut up. I literally just got back from work. Do not give me heat about my socks. None.
Don't show me your socks, but
You want me to show you my feet? I can do that instead.
No, I don't want to see your grody, nasty feet there, dude. I've got to eat later for dinner, and I don't want you to spoil my appetite there.
Okay, fair enough.
What movie are we talking about today here?
This week, Andy, we are reviewing a new Amazon Prime movie. It is based off of the original Tom Clancy novel, Without Remorse.
On your feet.
Senior Chief John Kelly is more dangerous and effective than any man we have in the field. The only thing he has more than kills are medals.
Somebody would like to talk to you.
John, if you're done in there, we need you to get back in the field.
Senior Chief Kelly, it appears you have a common enemy with the United States.
They took everything from me. My family. I got nothing left.
Their plan is a series of strategic attacks
All over the world.
We have to respond.
I need to be on that team.
Lieutenant Commander Greer, you lead the mission.
I'm even out the playing field.
CIA doesn't support any further investigation into your wife's murder.
Got a purple heart out the battlefield.
They had no right to take so much from me.
Play no games, boy, I'm busting proof.
This is a go mission.
Original bad boy. Under attack! Boy!
They know exactly where we've been.
The hell is going on here? What's the real mission? Original.
They brought that war in my house. They're gonna play by my rules now. No remorse.
Cause I'm sucker for dangerous. So dangerous.
Without Remorse tells the story about a military officer named John Kelly. He sees someone he loves very dearly cruelly and viciously gunned down, and he vows to get revenge on the people that have taken, a big part of his life away from him. And that's basically the gist of it. It's your typical revenge thriller action shooter, pretty much. So, but it's a new movie, so there's that.
Yeah. It's definitely a new action movie. I'm a big fan of Tom Clancy. I've always have been. When friends of mine were more into comic books, which I was and still am. I was actually reading a lot of his novels when I was in junior high. I mean, started with The Hunt for Red October, to Patriot Games, to there's a lot of other books that Tom Clancy had wrote over the years. And I was really excited when I saw this come out because I've read the 1993 novel with the same name, which is great. Highly recommend that book because what they did with Jack Ryan with that series on Amazon with John Krasinski, which in my opinion was absolutely fantastic. I can't wait till season 3 comes out. so looking forward to that. And I was thinking they were going to do more along those lines with this, but sadly, and just in my opinion, they really didn't do enough. It was more kind of like your generic action type movie, insert story here, insert a little action there, insert a gun battle in a odd location, kind of, it was boring a little bit to a degree.
It's funny that you mention generic specifically, because that was my to-go word as well whenever I was watching this movie. I'm going to start with the positives, because you know me, I like to be a positive person. I like to try to give people in movies the benefit of the doubt. So things I liked about this movie. I really, really, really loved Michael B. Jordan in this movie. Regardless of whether he's in great movies like Black Panther, Creed, or Fruitvale Station, or if he's in downright train wrecks like Fantastic Four, Michael B. Jordan has always been a really demanding actor. Like, he's really great at commanding your attention. And that's just as much the case here in this film. One of the things I really loved about it was, interestingly enough, not the ridiculously overblown stealth action gunfights. It was the moments where he was mourning about the person that he lost. Like, this movie does a really good job, like, showing John Kelly's trauma and heartbreak and this tragedy. And in turn, Michael B. Jordan just does a great job just encompassing this man's loss. Like, he just does a brilliant job with that. And even with the action, like, I love Tom Clancy too. I'm not as much into his novels as much as you are, but I did grow up playing quite a bit of his video games. One of my favorites being Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell. And I know this movie isn't related to some of those specifically, but even just looking at the action, like looking at this, stealthy, espionage type of action thriller, this movie's characters fight and engage in the gunfire a lot more stealthily than they normally do. And I dug that because, normally I'm used to movies just going in, guns blazing, bullets out the galore. But this one was a lot more low key. This one's like, okay, we're going to sneak around this corner. We're going to dip into this pool. We're going to, it was very intentional with its action. And I definitely appreciated that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely has high points. Like you said, Michael B. Jordan always brings his A games to whatever role he's in. And, I think with what he was given, he did a great job. I will say, on the more serious parts where he's mourning the death of his wife and unborn child, I don't think he did a really great job with that. I thought it was a little bit more stilton to agree. I mean, when you compare it to like Harrison Ford and Patriotgrams, another Tom Clancy book that's been adapted to screen, when Harrison Ford, he plays Jack Ryan in the movie, when his family gets has a drive-by shooting done of them on the highway and sends his family to the hospital. There's a scene where he confronts a member of the IRA in a bar, and he's physically upset at him for what he has done to his family. You could see that rage just building in him. And there's moments where even one before he goes to the bar, he's at the hospital, and he has that Harrison Ford intense look, and he's pointing at you like, and just walks away. I was expecting maybe a little bit more of that intensity with something on a little bit serious of a storyline, a subject matter, but didn't really see a whole lot with Jordan. But I mean, he did a good job for what was there. But it just, in my opinion, it's a throwaway action movie. There wasn't I don't think I'll be revisiting this anytime soon in the near future after my viewing last week.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think tension is a very big element in Tom Clancy's works, right? Whether it's the video games or the books or even his movies, he does a really great job, building up tension and escalation with his characters. One big remembrance I can think of is with the Hunt for Red October. I mean, that's just an element of his where he really shines the most. And this movie does have some good tension-filled moments. I think the opening firefight in John Kelly's house was especially provocative. There was one great scene where he's literally holding someone hostage inside of a burning vehicle. And that was amazing. That was like one of the best moments in the movie. And then, yeah, you're right. Like from the third act onward, the movie just descends into generic action. And I'm like, I feel like Tom Clancy deserves better than this. I'm not against action. I'm against generic action. The fight scenes you see in this movie, they're nothing you can't see in other and better spy thrillers, not limited to Mission Impossible, James Bond, The Bourne Identity,
John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's not unique in that sense. It's just kind of, okay, we're gonna.
I would honestly say if you want to see a good action movie with Michael B. Jordan, rent Creed.
Creed and Black Panther. Both are amazing movies and both carry really heavy themes in them as well. So those movies, I think, portrayed better dexterity and versatility than this movie did. It tried so hard to be taken seriously, and it ends up just falling flat because of it. Like, it was so sad because I loved the first act. I love the first two acts of this movie.
Oh, great.
But the last half just plummeted. I'm like, you straight up ripped that off from Jason Bourne. And that may not be the case. Tom Clancy's been around for a while. It may be all the ideas in this movie are his original ideas, but you need to find a way to convey that in an original, new, and unique way. And this movie just didn't do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, this movie was updated from his novel. I mean, the main character in his novel, by the same name, was a Vietnam veteran. So they updated the story quite a bit just to bring it into the modern day. I would agree with you that the first act of the movie is just stupendous. The story flows really well. A lot of good action. A lot of good points in it. And then there's a moment right after a key event happens, which I'm not going to tell you about because that's definitely a spoiler, that it just, like you said, it drops off a cliff. It just goes into the realm of mediocrity, and it's that is disappointing.
It really is, and it's like I think it's funny. I feel the same way about this movie that I felt about Mortal Kombat, which we've also recently reviewed. And considering the fact both these movies have to tie in with video games, I just think that's amusing. But I'm more interested to the sequel of this movie rather than I'm interested in this movie itself. Because when you get to the end of this movie, it's clear that this movie was meant as a jumping off point for something much bigger, much more exciting, and much more engaging. And I really do want to see the sequel to this movie, Andy. I'm again, no spoilers, but I do want to see where John Kelly's story goes from here. I just think this chapter was unnecessary. This whole plot was constructed to show you, okay, this character was known by this at the beginning of the movie, but now at the end, he's known by something else. And this is going to lead into another Tom Clancy movie. And I'm like, why don't you just start with that movie? Why don't you just start with the story you're intending to tell rather than just doing this unnecessary exposition loaded backstory that we know how it's going to end from a mile away.
Yeah. And to your point, there is in the credits, like any Marvel movie, there is an extra scene that you need to watch that reveals what's happening next. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's I definitely knew from reading the books, from playing the video games, what they were tying this into. And it's, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I was just disappointed because they did Jack Ryan just so beautifully, and it was just amazing. And I'd never thought John Krasinski could do a serious action dramatic type role, because you know him as the clown from The Office as Jim Halpert. He endlessly messing with Dwight Schrute, putting office supplies in Jell-O. I just never thought he could do that. But that's why I was so excited about it. Like, wow, this is going to be awesome. And, I would say if you want to see a really good Tom Clancy-based movie, see any of the movies that Harrison Ford is in as Jack Ryan, the Alec Baldwin movie that came out in 1989, Hunt for Red October, which is fantastic. Sean Connery's in that.
Yep.
I mean, they actually built a life-size gimbal for both the submarines they used in that movie that moved and flexed like they were, diving in the ocean. I mean, they took a lot of attention to detail on that.
Yeah, there's older and better Tom Clancy movies, and like you said, TV shows that have been done way better than this movie is.
I mean, even the Chris Pine movie about Jack Ryan, but I wouldn't go so far as saying the film with Morgan Freeman and the actor I loathe that I won't say his name.
Ben Affleck.
Affleck. That guy.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
The Sum of All Fears
now just
really
because
bad.
of how much it frustrates you. But outside of that fact,
worst Batman ever.
You're forgetting George Clooney, but that's a conversation for another time.
That's true.
But anyhow, yes, Tom Clancy has a lot of amazing movies. He's going to have another movie come out in the future. I'm excited to see the sequel of this movie. I hope it's better than this movie is, because at face value, this movie is just forgettable. And that's so sad to say, because like you, I was really looking forward to it. And I was looking forward to seeing their new interpretation of this character. And hopefully it'll go into farther and better places in the sequel, because as far as the standalone goes, it just doesn't go very far.
Yeah. So we're at the point where we need to give a rating on this film on 1 to 10. What do you give it here?
Solid 6. It started as an 8, really solid 8. And then as it kept going on and on, it just whittled away a little bit more and more and more until just disappointment ensued. If Michael B. Jordan doesn't deserve better than this, Tom Clancy definitely does.
Yeah, I'm at a 6 with you on that. That's what I give it. First act, tremendous, great, awesome. And if they would have ended there, maybe that would have been awesome. But they didn't. They continued on to a train wreck and just not really appealing. So yeah, I definitely give it a 6. So that's my thoughts on it. Very forgettable. I probably wouldn't watch it again, frankly. I'll watch Creed or watch Black Panther and have a much better time. Even Creed 2, much better films.
Better performances from Michael B. Jordan, better premises, and better execution than Without Remorse, sadly demonstrated. There should be a lot more remorse for this movie than what the title suggests.
Well, on that note, I think that's going to do it for today on the Critics Corner. So if you have any thoughts, questions, suggestions, things you want to see here in the corner, just shoot us an email, send us a comment on Facebook or below the video, and we'll get back with you. So We will see you guys next week. Have a fantastic day and a wonderful weekend.
Catch y'all later.